Today, we're going to be ranking all 12 of the Mega Man Battle 5 Dark chips, specifically looking at their Chaos Unisons. Except, that's a lie. I'm actually going to be talking about them both as Dark chips themselves and as Chaos Unisons, with a little bit of emphasis on the latter. I already did my video on the Double Souls of Mega Man Battle 5, Team ProtoDemn, and Team Colonel, and so I wanted to make sure to do a video about the Chaos Unisons as well. The problem is that the Chaos Unisons have exactly the same abilities as the regular Double Souls, so there's really no point in breaking down each individual Chaos Unison when all I'd be doing is talking about their charged attacks. Those are the really only real differences. What I did is I created a Dark Chip ranking on tiermaker.com. I have tiers S, A, B, C, and F, and I put all the Dark Chips in order that you get them. Magnet, Gyro, Napalm, Search, Medi, and Proto for Team ProtoMan. Knight, let's say Invis, Night Soul, Shadow Soul, Tomahawk Soul, Number Soul, Toad Soul, and Colonel Soul for Team Colonel. So they are all in order. I'm going to be placing them in this order. So let's dive right into it. First off, we got Dark Thunder for Magnet Soul. It's going to be an easy A tier. I have a reason for not putting it in S tier. I love Magnet Soul. It's my second favorite in Mega Man Battle 5. It is a very strong Double Soul with great utility that really empowers it. CC'd in Star Code is amazing utility for it, that it basically doubles the damage of electric type moves. You can already charge electric moves to deal double damage. So Dark Thunder Magnet Soul basically allows you to do quadruple damage with electrics. That's already off the bat just incredibly strong. Dark Thunder in and of itself is not bad either, being a 200 damage Thunderball that tracks opponents and paralyzes. Now, the only reason I'm not putting it in S tier is because unfortunately the Dark Thunderball is very slow, so it's not a guaranteed hit. Enemy navies move around randomly, and so there are a lot of times where the Thunderball will kind of just like move back and forth between two panels and never end up hitting the enemy. In PvP, opponents will obviously know where the Thunderball is and will be able to move away from it to avoid it. So it's not the easiest chip to hit. If it does hit, and especially if it's on a C panel, it's really good. 200 damage and paralyzing is really strong. Double that on a C panel for 400 damage and paralyzing, absolutely great chip. But really, its biggest strength, I think, is the fact that it gives you another turn of Magnet Soul. So if you have an electric folder, you always want to have Dark Thunder in that folder, just to give yourself that extra turn that you can go into Magnet Soul. Overall, great chip. Dark Tornado. Dark Tornado I want to put in a B code. It's not anywhere near as good as Dark Thunder. It's a good chip, don't get me wrong, but there's a few issues with it. First off, going into Gyro Soul is really good. It's a great offensive tool, you know, allowing you to deal double damage with wind or non-element chips is really strong, but there's a problem here. One of the biggest reasons for PvP especially to go into Gyro Soul is the fact that Gyro Soul's charge attack gets rid of enemy auras. As far as I know, I could be wrong, and if I am, please correct me in the comments, but as far as I know, Dark Tornado doesn't actually get rid of auras. So that basically means that if your opponent sets up a life aura, for example, you're in Gyro Soul, but you don't have a way of actually getting rid of their aura because you changed your charge attack. So that's the one issue. The other issue is that Dark Tornado is a tornado chip. They're really strong. They're really good with setup. They can do massive amounts of damage, almost comparable to Super Vulcan in a lot of ways. The problem with tornado chips is that unlike Super Vulcan, which hits an entire row, Tornado hits only exactly the panel, 2 panels in front of you. Only that panel. That range really sucks and makes it really hard to hit a tornado, unfortunately. Dark Tornado has a way around that. Dark Tornado doesn't spawn just one tornado, it can spawn multiple tornadoes and hit multiple targets at the same time, hitting multiple panels. But in order for that to happen, you need to take damage, you need to flinch first. Unless you have super armor equipped, if you are going for an S rank on navies, Dark Tornado is probably not the best option. It's going to be really difficult to hit. If you're playing PvP, it could be a little bit better, but I'm not 100% sure if the charge attack on Gyro Soul actually spreads out the way that the chip itself does. Again, I haven't used Dark Tornado very much, and I try my best to avoid taking damage in Battle Arc games. I should have tested this before I made this video, but well, I just wanted to make the video. But overall, it's not terrible. I think it's not the strongest chip in the game, but it's not bad. But definitely going above it would be Dark Meteors. Dark Meteor also, unfortunately, has a major flaw, but its flaw is not the range. It tracks enemies. It'll hit where they're standing, so that's not a problem. The problem with Dark Meteors is that it sucks for PvP and it sucks for fighting Navis in the game casually, because every meteor causes flinching. Once your opponent takes one hit from one of the meteors, then they become invincible and basically can't be hit by any other meteors at all, and that really sucks. You're going into Napalm Soul, which in my opinion can be strong. I haven't used it before, or I have, but like not properly. I used it back when I was like a high schooler that had no idea what he was doing still in Battle Network games. So overall, Napalm Soul, not the best, not the worst, so I don't think it's really that bad. I don't think it's like C or F tier bad at all whatsoever, but you know, not being able to multi-hit enemies really sucks. What you can do, ironically, this is like the one thing that I can think of right now that makes Medi-Soul actually useful. If you go into Medi-Soul and you use Dark Meteors as a Dark Chip, yeah, you're taking the 1% damage, 1 HP loss for using a Dark Chip. But if you could get Dark Meteors with White Capsule, that would be amazing, because each capsule, the capsule would make each meteor paralyzed, so your opponent is basically guaranteed to get hit by nearly all of them. Like once they get hit by one meteor, they're done. They're getting hit by everything after that. That would be really good. But you know, again, that requires you to actually use the Dark Chip instead of the Chaos Unison, which isn't great. Last thing to say about Dark Meteor though is that this thing is amazing against viruses. At least viruses don't flinch, they don't get invincibility frames, so they can get hit by every single meteor that gets thrown at them. So yeah, viruses can actually get destroyed completely by this chip. So not a great PvP chip, not a great anti-Navi chip, like Navi battling chip, but great against viruses. So I don't want to really put it down too low tier. Dark Surge. Dark Circle, Chaos Surge Soul, there's not even a question. This is absolutely one of the best chips in the game. First off, you're giving yourself access to Chaos Search Soul, which means an extra turn of chip shuffle. Shuffling your folder 3 more times is already in and of itself putting this in the S tier. What really tips it over the edge is that this chip has probably the most raw damage output of any other Dark chip. So the way it works is that whatever grid your opponent has, whether it's their 3x3 grid or if they get area or if they lose area, whatever it is, you hit the panels on the outside in a circle, you hit 7 panels. So basically what that means is that in the 3x3 grid, you are hitting 7 out of the 8 outside panels and the center is safe. So if your opponent stands in the center, they can't take damage. But if you area grab, still hitting 7 circles, but now all the panels are outside panels, which means you can only hit 6 panels. You have 7 targets, which means one of the panels will get hit by 2 targets. This chip can do 300 damage in a 3x3 area because you hit an opponent once. If your opponent is on a 2x3 area, if you area grab once, you can hit them twice for 600 damage if the cursor lands perfectly on them. And if you area grab twice and your opponent is in their center panel, you can hit them 4 times. This chip, with 2 area grabs, this chip has the potential of doing 1200 damage. And if you're using it as Chaos Search Unison, and your opponent goes in that center panel twice in that turn, 2400 damage in 1 turn, this is by far one of the best chips in terms of raw damage output in the game. You don't need attack ups, you don't need color point or double point, which would actually make it worse, ironically. You literally just need 2 area grabs, and this chip is doing insane amounts of damage. Even just 1 area grab, 600 damage, potentially. And it's not that hard, in my opinion, to hit the cursor directly on the enemy. I have done it so many times, like I got really good at it, even when I was crappy at Battle Arc games. Dark Circle, absolutely the best Dark chip. So Keep that in mind. There's going to be other chips in the S rank. They're not going higher than Dark Circle. Dark Recover. The ability to recover 1000 HP is casually not the best. The other issue is that you're not only getting an ability or a charge attack that's not that great, you're also going to Medi Soul. Means that, unfortunately, this soul is of course going to be going in the C tier. Yeah, this one's C tier, not F tier. Probably tripped up a few people. By now, everyone knows how much I hate Medi Soul. People have given me shit in the comments for hating Medi Soul, which has been fun. But, to be honest here, casual play, Recover 1000 isn't that great. If you have no HP Plus programs in your Navi Customizer, this is a HP like full recovery, which is actually not terrible. If you're a casual player, or especially if you're new to the Balnark series, if you're new to the Balnark series and you're getting hit by chips a lot, that's okay. If you're getting hit by you know, enemy viruses or enemy navis, you can't dodge their attacks a lot, and you want to have the Recover 1000 to recover your HP, or if you just can't get past Nebula Gray because honestly that's not an easy fight, and so you just want to have a way to recover your HP to make the fight more bearable, so you put Dark Recover in your folder. That's perfectly fine. I actually think that's actually a really good idea. And so for A, newcomers, it's a really good chip, so I want to put it higher than F for the newcomers. And B, PvP. This is actually not a bad chip to use in PvP. It's not a bad double soul at all. Because if you think about it, you recovering 1000 HP in PvP means a lot. Recover 300 is very common in PvP. Not right now, people on Steam. Or others. That was Discord, whatever. As I was saying, if you're in PvP, recovering 1000 is huge. People use recover 300 all the time in PvP, so it's actually massive to be able to recover 1000 HP. And if you use it as a Chaos Unison and you charge twice, you're getting 2000 HP on the turn. This is actually a pretty good chip to use in PvP. And so I don't want to put it into F tier. As much as I hate Medi is the worst soul in the game in my opinion, but I do not think that Chaos Medi is the worst, because I Recover 1000 can come in very clutch at some point. My favorite, Proto. Said nothing's better than Search, so we know it's not going up there. However, it's going into the... No, I don't want to put it in S tier. I don't think Proto Soul is the best double soul in the game. I think there are A, better Chaos Unisons than Chaos Proto. And B, as fun as it is, I love Proto Soul. I think it is pretty good. The damage output is really good. Dark Sword in and of itself is amazing. Think of everything I said for Magnet, right? Magnet is pretty strong and whatnot, and Dark Circle, how I said that you just need 1 or 2 area grabs to set it up. Well, Dark Sword, 1 area grab, you are perfectly set up, you are hitting everything on the field. Dark Sword basically works as a life sword. It is a 400 damage sword that hits that 2x3 area, similar to Life Sword. The only difference is that you can use this one in a single chip, or, better yet, activate Chaos Proto Unison with it, and now you're using Dark Sword as your charge attack. These two chips actually were like deemed to be good enough that they were both turned into Giga Chips in Battle Network 6 with Bug R Sword and Bug That Thunder in Battle Network 6, turning your charge attacks into these two chips. So overall, I think Dark Proto should be pretty high up there. I think A tier is pretty good for it. 1 area grab and you are hitting everything on your opponent's field for 400 damage, clears out viruses in an instant, 400 damage to enemy navis or PvP players, 800 damage in turn if you actually get the double charge off, so pretty good overall. This is my ranking for the Team ProtoDemn souls. Now, pretty good balance, I think. Knight Soul. Chaos Knight I am putting at the top. It's going S tier for 2 reasons. Number 1, I think that Knight Soul is the best double soul in Team Kernel. It has both offensive and defensive capabilities. It takes chips like Air Hockey and Drill Arm, which have the potential to be massive damage dealers, and makes them better by A, doubling their damage, and B, making you invincible while you use them. So overall, Knight Soul is great, which is already pushing this chip up. Second thing is that, again, like with Dark Sword, like with Dark Circle, one area grab, this chip is set up. You get one area grab, and now your Dark Drill is guaranteed to do maximum hits, which I believe it does 8 hits and 50 damage a hit, so it's 400 damage overall. That's really strong. Like, this chip can do massive amounts of damage, and I use it a lot. I use it to fight Gridman, he's very easy to hit. I use it to fight Nightman himself, he's very weak to Drill Arm chips, ironically. So Dark Drill, if you want to use a Night Soul folder, throw in Dark Drill. It's really good. I love this chip so much. Dark Invis. Dark Invis, I think a lot of people are going to say it's S tier, it should be the best one. I don't think it's S tier. I don't want to have too many chips in the S tier, but I will put it at the top of A. Reason being, I think there's one more chip that is definitely better than Dark Invis, but Dark Invis itself is pretty damn good. First off, getting access to Chaos Shadow Soul is great because that's one of the best defensive tools in the game. Being able to move faster, getting yourself the anti-damage program equipped while the soul is active, that's really good. Dark Invis itself, it's a little iffy because of the fact that it's random, so you can't really control Mega Man or what he's doing on the turn, which is fun as hell to watch, honestly. So it's not, even though it's random, it's still not like, not Medisoul bad random, it's just, it's fun chaotic random, kind of. For PvP though, this thing is definitely, if we were talking strictly PvP, I would put this, honestly, if we were talking strictly PvP, I would put it in the S tier, like, in front of Drill, but we're not really talking strictly PvP, we're talking about in general, and I think in general it goes down to A tier. The reason I think that PvP would be so good is because the best defense is not being able to take damage at all, and when you use Dark Invis and you turn into Dark Mega Man, you are completely immune to all damage, which basically means that you have a full turn where your opponent can't do anything. That is really good in PvP. Even casually, I think that this is a good double soul. I do think it's better than Dark Sword. I do think it's better than Dark Thunder. So overall, I definitely think it belongs at the top of A tier. I mean, it's borderline S tier. Genuinely, I think it's borderline S tier, just because of how great it is in PvP. Dark Tomahawk, Dark Lance. We will put it under Meteors. I'm gonna put it under Meteors because it's good. Going into Tomahawk Soul is pretty good. The nice thing about it is that, unlike Meteors, it doesn't cause flinching, which means you can hit the Lance and then follow up immediately after. If you're fighting Cloudman, this is the anti-Cloudman chip. Dark Lance, you charge up Dark Lance and you're doing like 1200 damage to him if you do it twice in a turn. I believe it's 300 damage normally. It might be 400, I don't remember off the top of my head how much damage it does. It's either 300 or 400. So that means you're doing either 600 or 800 damage in one attack on Cloudman, and he's always in the back. That being said, as far as I remember, Cloudman is the only Navi that camps in the back column in Balnark 5, so it's a little bit more limited in its usage. Still not bad, but just more limited. But still, you're going into Tomahawk Soul, which is pretty good, especially with like Cactus Ball. Like, you're setting up grass panels. If you go into Chaos Tomahawk, means that you're going into Tomahawk Soul for a second time in the game, which means that you could set up grass panels for yourself again. This is actually an interesting way to refresh your grass panels after you run out of Tomahawk Soul grass panels. So pretty good in that regard. It's not that terrible. Double area grab, just like with Dark Circle Gun, if you get 2 area grabs off, you're hitting your opponent no matter what. So I don't want to say that this is like less than a B tier. I'm not sure if it's better than Meteors. I guess I could put it over Meteors, only because of the fact that Meteors is causing that flinching. I think I'm also going to take Dark Tornado and move it down, because the next chip, attack plus 50, I want to move it above Dark Tornado. Attack plus 50, putting you into Number Soul for an additional turn, giving you access to Custom Full for additional turn, that's really good. I think that is in and of itself is already making Dark Attack a good chip. And Dark Attack, I mean, giving yourself plus 50 attack to any chip on a charge, so you can do it twice in a turn, like, that's really good. Like, if you think about it, if you do plus 50 on just plus 50 on a Super Vulcan is 12 more hits that do 50 damage additional each is like 600 extra damage. So if you just go attack plus 50 Super Vulcan, and then you do attack plus 50 and have another chip in the back, like you can do massive damage in one turn. You're giving yourself custom full for that extra turn when you open up the custom window again. So I think Dark Attack is pretty good. And actually, I think I can even put it over Dark Meteors because it's more reliable than Dark Meteors, since it guaranteed to give a might even be better than Dark Tomahawk, honestly, or Dark Lance. I keep seeing Dark Tomahawk instead of Dark Lance. It might actually be better than Dark Lance because, again, Dark Lance only hits the back column. Dark Meteors causes flinching. I don't care about any of that with the attack 50. It does its job. It just, here's 50 damage to your next battle chip, whatever that might be. Dark Wide. Dark Wide's S. Now, people give Toad Soul shit for being one of the worst souls in the game because, like, the Aqua Chips it can charge aren't that great. But who needs Aqua Chips to charge when you have Dark Wide as a charge shot? Dark Wide is already one of the best Dark Chips in the game. 300 damage doesn't seem like a lot, and Wide Shot itself usually sucks because Wide Shot will go until it hits an enemy and then it stops. Dark Wide goes through everything. It pierces through enemies, which means that it doesn't stop just because it hit one opponent. It'll go through all of them. It'll clear out viruses. It's guaranteed to hit opponents no matter where they are, as long as you're standing in your middle row. So overall, Dark Wide is just really good. I think it's S tier. It's a little bit iffy on whether or not it's better than Dark Drill, because Dark Drill has slightly more damage and a better double soul, but Dark Wide is guaranteed to hit anywhere and hits multiple enemies since it can clear through everything. I'm going to put Dark Drill above it, but just keep in mind there's definitely contention between Dark Drill and Dark Wide here. There's really not much else to say. Like, Dark Wide by itself is S tier. Like, having absolutely nothing to do with the Toad Soul, this chip is already like a very high tier. And last but not least, we have Dark Sonic, which, I'm sorry, Colonel fans, I have to put this one in F tier, and I'm going to explain why. First off, as a Dark chip, Dark Sonic is not bad. As a Chaos Unison, its charge attack is not bad. Setting up a Fanfare Virus obstacle on your side of the field, or even on the opponent's side of the field, that causes paralysis, that's really good. Like, imagine this. So Colonel Soul. One of the things about Colonel Soul is that it turns obstacles on your opponent's side of the field into Colonel Soldiers. Those soldiers attack with either a Vulcan or a Longsword, depending on if they're in front or behind the enemy, and they paralyze. What if I have Dark Sonic on my side of the field, it paralyzes my opponents, and right before it expires, right before it stops singing, because they do that little singing animation, you put an obstacle down in front of your opponent. Now the soldier shoots them with the Vulcan and paralyzes them until your Dark Sonic comes back up and starts singing again to paralyze them. You can loop that and potentially paralyze an opponent indefinitely. That can be really good. That's the only good thing I can say about this, unfortunately. Dark Sonic paralyzing is really good. However, we're talking about Colonel Soul here. Colonel Soul has two aspects to it. Number one being the fact that when you use Colonel Soul, you get those soldiers from obstacles. Number two, arm change. Arm change works in an interesting way. Basically, you activate Colonel Soul, you don't have access to arm change right away. You go through one turn of Colonel Soul, then you open your custom window. In the custom window, you can choose a battle chip to arm change to turn your charge attack into that chip. Fine. Now, the problem here is that means that your arm change, you don't actually have access to it until your second turn of Colonel Soul. An arm change only lasts as long as Colonel Soul is active. So when Colonel Soul, when you lose Colonel Soul, you lose that arm change. When you go into custom window on Chaos Colonel and you pick a chip and you arm change with it and you go into the battle, you just lost that chip for no reason because Chaos Colonel gets cancelled after that first turn. Because Chaos Unisons only last one turn, which means that Chaos Colonel is the only double soul that effectively is different from its regular double soul. Chaos Kernel only has the soldiers, it does not have arm change. Even though you can use arm change with Chaos Kernel, you are basically wasting that chip, losing it for absolutely no reason, and because of that, I feel that Chaos Kernel has to be in the F tier. It's already a bad double soul in my opinion. It's already clunky and difficult to use. Dark Sonic makes it a little bit easier to use if you gain that paralysis between Dark Sonic and your obstacles. That's pretty cool, but that's really the only thing I can see this chip doing. That's it. This is my official ranking. This is what I am going with. I feel very comfortable with it. There's a little bit of like iffiness between the Dark Wide and the Dark Drill. I'm gonna keep them where they are for now, but just keep in mind, that there's a little bit of debate here, I think. Let me know in the comments below what you think about my tier list. Let me know what your own rankings would be. Do you agree or disagree with me? Is there any information you think I left out in this video? This was another one that was not scripted. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. Hence why there's so many pauses, because my brain and mouth tend to not coordinate with each other. I tend to think faster than I speak, even though I speak very fast. Just New York things, I guess. But this is going to be it for my tier ranking. Again, I feel very comfortable with it. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Let me know in the comments, especially if you've used any of these chips outright, like not as a Chaos Unison, if you've actually used Dark Mega Man before in Battle.Arc 5. Let me know what it's like. I personally have never used Dark Mega Man. I don't know if I ever will. I'm not a fan of losing my HP. Let me know if the benefits are actually worth losing your HP over, because I'm not a big fan of losing HP permanently just to use the Dark Chips. But that's going to be it from me, so I'll see you all in the next video, and as always, thanks for watching.